This video is going to review the process of importing spreadsheets into Electronic Catalog. But particular attention to this particular spreadsheet that you see in front of you will address the issue of creating a retail price, because in this particular instance we have part number, part ID, description, UPC, weight, package quantity, and price each. Price each is actually the cost from the vendor. So what we want to do here is actually create a retail price column, probably assembled in G. And then also, as we look down here, we're going to go ahead and take out some lines that just don't need to be there, as far as this is product displays, etc. So that's what we want to look at. And then also, we want to be aware of package quantities and if we can implement that into the TransAct import. So first, what I like to do, we are sitting in Excel. I'm going to go to column G and type in retail, just so I know that that's what we're going to do. I could go over here and do a variable that's going to be, what's the quantity? We're going to put 2 times cost, so I can go in. I'm going to go reference the F column, that's going to be my cost, times asterisk the H1 field, and I'm going to press F4 to make that an absolute value. So now I have 486. So then I'm going to take that value and I'm going to copy it all the way down to the end, and usually that's the way I do it wrong. I'm just going to page down, it can't be that far. And so I'm going to scoot on down to the end of this. It's only a couple thousand, that's all right. So I'm going to do that. So I'll paste into there those values. I would like to come into this section, and I'm going to just take out these product displays. I guess I could also leave it, because they may want to order that product display. That's fine. We'll leave that in place. And if we go scoot down through this list just to see, same thing with assortments. We can leave those SKUs in there so the store can order that particular item ID or part ID and get the product. So now we have in here, we have product ID, description, UPC, weight per unit, package quantity. How many do they need when they buy it feels like an F pack. And then the cost. Let's just type this cost because the retailer told me that. And then that value. So also what I want to do here, that $sign, I want to get rid of. I'm just going to come into here and I'm going to say you're just a comma value. So just to drop that out, just to quieten down some programming aspects to this. So I'm going to save this as a XLSX, which is fine. And I'm going to save it as that. I'm going to tell it with retail. Enter. So now I'll change positions here. I'll get to the site and then we'll import this file. And I'll be with you in just a moment. All right, now that we're at the store, we're going to go into IC vendors just to explain the vendor setup for this. We're going to put in double H, and double H is the vendor. They do a bill through another company, but that's fine. So this will be created. The items will be added to the double H customer as we create the catalog entry for this spreadsheet to which we're going to import. So first you have to have that vendor set up and the eCatalog established. We're not going to worry about right now the prefix. You could put a prefix on all their numbers if you are concerned about a conflict of 6-digit numbers and 6-digit numbers, you can do that. So a couple of different things you can do there. But what we're going to do is we'll close out up here and we'll continue on into IC maintenance, import, export. From there, we'll log in. We're going to go to eCatalog, Electronic Catalog. We're going to choose to import a catalog, that spreadsheet we just added that cost to. We're going to go to the bottom of this listing. I'm going to arrow down to the very bottom, and I'm going to choose the XLSX. That's the format we did the save in. The location of that file I have already placed on that server installation of the M drive TransActPOS server catalogs. There's our double H. It's filtering to XLSX. That's the file we just created. We added the retail value to it. We're select open. Now we're going to choose the vendor. Easiest is to hit that ellipse right there, those 3 dots. If I just put double, it'll find the double H, which is the vendor we just looked at. And as we hit import, it's going to bring up the screen that we want to look at here. Now, out of view, I'm going to go look at my spreadsheet columns. You probably have a copy of that if we've done other videos that reference, oh, you need to be able to see your spreadsheet you're working on. So I'm going to go looking over on my spreadsheet. I see column A is part ID, aka SKU. Column B is description. Column C is UPC. Pretty straightforward in this case. Manufacturer ID doesn't exist. Those don't exist. Recommended quantity, I'm going to probably put as that package quantity, which is E. So if you go have that come up, we're going to go put a shelf quantity, recommended quantity, which would be the pack quantity. And then retail, what we just created is G. So I'm skipping around my spreadsheet a little bit. And then C is the column of F, Frank. We have no class code. We're not really worried about that. You can always use a mass change to adjust that. We're going to say data begins in row 2. I've made that mistake on a couple other videos. So row 2 is where all this data begins. It will find the end when it runs out of data. That's not a problem. And we're coming off sheet 1. Yeah, it's only a single sheet. So with those 6 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we should be in good shape. So we select save here, and it begins the import process. Error in line 51, non-numeric value. So if I went in my spreadsheet, let me go down to line 51, non-numeric value. Column E. Well, column E, oh, it's a non-numeric because it's actually a blank. That's fine. We should be able to jump over that. If I go look in their spreadsheet, they just had an empty cell in package quantity, which is fine. It doesn't stop the system from running, but it continues on to importing the 1700 SKU. And just searching that column, there are no other blanks in that. We'll be back in just a moment. Now, while that's running, if we go back to this spreadsheet, the simple world, those unfamiliar with spreadsheets, is if you want to triple the price, you just change this value to a 3. And that's where this formula, which is F2 cost, times the static value of H1, that value, simply does the math. Want to change it to 2.75. What you can do is, if you wanted to refresh those retails in Transact, you would just change this value and then re-import that catalog, that new spreadsheet, into the catalog, and it would update the current retails in the catalog. So easy enough to do there. So now let's go and look up in ICE catalog a part number. Let's go to the first part number we had, to the 00103. Hitch pin, 486. Let's go look at it. And it has a multiplier of 1, cost of 243, which is correct. So that should put us in good shape. After that, you can go to that vendor, create purchase orders for those products, and it will auto add into the electronic catalog. Thank you.